was primarily 3D printing, 3D printing production, maintenance of machines, education, and design for work with 3D printers.
And how would you explain 3D printing to somebody who has never heard of it?
3D printing is a manufacturing process that, unlike previous methods such as CNC machining, in which a lump of material is placed inside the machine and then bitten into the desired shape, which creates lots of crazy product. 3D printing is additive manufacturing, where material is placed upon itself, so there's less waste and you can create objects in a more free manner. Another interesting thing with it is that it enables rapid prototyping, where you don't need to adapt a machine for a certain prototype, but a single machine can produce many different prototypes. And even in production, where we make a series of several prints of objects, or a single unique object, or even hundreds of thousands of objects, we can selectively adapt a single one of them to have a custom design feature on them, either be it in a different material, or make it have a marking, or change tolerance, for instance. So if we want to test model, we can easily take one of the large series and make it be like several percent larger or smaller, or change a hole for a screw in it, anything like that.
What are some of the biggest limitations or challenges of 3D printing today?
There are quite a few. One in popular commercial 3D printing, one of the common limitations is the material with which is made. So that's plastics, different types of plastics. Plastic is a bit unpredictable. It likes to expand when it cools, so sometimes it's hard to get exact measurement of an object, especially if we want something small. But also on large objects, the issue is contraction that occurs during the cooling. Since larger objects cool at different paces, part of it can pull for other parts. And what happens is that part starts pulling all the other sections of the model, and then it starts to contract into itself. So you get something that's bent. Another problem that's most often misunderstood is that 3D printers don't really work in 3D. They work in 2.5D. What a 3D printer does is it slices the 3D objects into a bunch of 2D images and it stacks them onto themselves. That's a limiting factor, since layers usually leave marks. Another problem is reliability. Sometimes machines can produce thousands of objects without issue, and sometimes they just won't work. And even with modern functions such as AI monitoring and modern sensors, failures still happen, and sometimes it's really hard to nail down on why a failure happened.
Is 3D printing expensive, or is it accessible for students or beginners?
Right now it's very accessible. Just a few years ago it was extremely expensive. Well, if you wanted something that's at least moderately reliable. When I got my first 3D printer in 2017, I could have bought a car for that money. It was very hard to approach, and a different option was to build something yourself. And not everyone can do that, but right now you can buy them for like a few €100, which is very accessible. There are other costs such as material wastage and how much filament you have to buy to keep it running, and spare parts. But compared to what it was before, it's very accessible, both monetarily and from the technical standpoint. You don't need to work so much with 3D printing like you did before. Right now you push two buttons and they work. I can teach someone how to use a 3D printer in half an hour, and it's much better than before. So yes, I'd say it's very accessible.
And do you think that 3D printing will become more common in the everyday life?
Yes, I do. It started as a very niche technology where pretty much no one even knew what it was or how it works. But right now, most people know about it. It's pretty common for someone to have a 3D printer at home, and I don't mean like engineer types or boys that like technology. I mean girls, children. It's very accessible for everyone. So like whoever has a certain niche hobby usually has a 3D printer. If it's playing with robots, if it's designing RC cars or drones, or doing something for cosplay, or just making spare parts for home. Usually, if someone gets deep enough into their hobby, they're gonna have a 3D printer.
What skills can students develop by using 3D printing?
Quite a lot of skills, since there are many ways to use a 3D printer, and it's a very wide topic. So you can just use a 3D printer on its own, but if you wanna make something custom, something just for yourself, you're gonna have to learn how to do 3D modeling. So that's a different skill. If you wanna make functional models that gonna fit in into your surroundings, maybe your car, maybe your furniture, maybe your scooter or your drone, you're gonna have to learn technical drawing and learn how to take measurements of objects around you, and then you're gonna have to learn how to make technical 3D models. If you wanna combine materials, different materials, for instance, most 3D printed plastics are very hard, but there are rubber ones. Some plastics are great for outdoors, some are not. You're gonna have to learn to do that. You're gonna have to learn how to combine materials, even combining 3D printed plastics with metals like aluminum girders or stuff like that. And then if you use 3D printer long enough, inevitably something's going to fail, and then you're gonna have to learn how to watch the machine that's right in front of you and learn its parts, learn how it's supposed to move, how to fix it, how to diagnose problems. So that's something else. It's a very wide topic, and the more you go into it, the more you need to learn. Sometimes people think it's complicated. It's not complicated, it's complex. It's built from many small topics.
What advice would you give to beginners who want to start 3D printing?
Start 3D printing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Is there anything particular you want to say?
yeah, the basic advice is really just start 3D printing. If you can't afford 3D printer, find someone who has a 3D printer. Find a school that has 3D printer. Get in touch with someone, start asking questions, make something for yourself. It's a different feeling if you're just thinking about it, or if you're just seeing it on YouTube, or if you actually hold something in your hand. When you feel the plastic, when you feel the textures of it, it brings out something in people. And if you want to go a step further, if you want to get your own 3D printer, there are very cheap printers right now that will be reliable enough. If you're into it, you can build your own 3D printer. There are countless tutorials on YouTube, and you will learn a lot. And the best part is it'll be your 3D printer, and whatever breaks, you're gonna be the only person that knows how to fix it. So yeah, basically how to start, just start doing it, find a way to do it, find an approach angle and go for it.
Is there anything people usually misunderstand about it?
Yes. There's a weird dichotomy. On one side, there are people who think it's super complicated and it scares them. On the other side, there are people who think it's simple and they take it for granted. It's neither. It's neither hard nor easy. And also it's both in a way. It's not easy to design your custom models. It takes time to make this. It takes time to test it. It takes time to calibrate the machine to do it. But you can also skip all of that if someone else makes a model. If you already did that earlier, that's the easy part. Sometimes it's hard to diagnose errors, but you might not even get errors. That's the misunderstanding of how it all works. It's both easy and hard, and it's neither.
Okay, that was all, and thank you for coming today, and thank you for answering my questions.
Sure, thank you for asking.